The card was supposed to be a trial, and this was supposed to be a trial, yet the effects have left many with permanent damage, either mentally, physically, financially, or with no recourse. There's been so many cases now of people and their rents not being paid, placed into ticker, which means they can no longer gain rentals in the rental market as owners have blacklisted them for non-payments of rents. These rental failures have left mainly women and children homeless, living in vans. Many have moved away from the region up here. India's refusal to maintain continuous payments for other debts for people have left people at risk of being sued by their own lawyers. In one case reported recently in the Hinkler Group of a parent who had a payment arrangement set up to repay a lawyer for legal fees, and when India decided to stuff it up, the lawyer was threatening her with breach of contract. The same applies when a person can't pay their rent. India is forcing them to breach their contracts. The majority of people I've dealt with have ended up medicated on antidepressants, anti-panic medications. Some have tried to end it all. Most still have going on mental health plans, and in some cases their whole families are impacted. Adult children who require counselling and their kids need counselling, the enormous stress is placed on the whole families. Parents who are not on the card suffer the toxic ripple effect of adult children who are on the card. When women are escaping PV, often have to rebuild and have worked hard to recover from debts of the past, got everything on track, then bam, here, have a card, only to see all their hard work at attaining financial and emotional autonomy go straight out the window, realising very quickly that the abuse they once fled was now being inflicted upon them by the very government that is supposed to be helping them, not keeping the boot on them with the children. Right? The lost credit ratings from when bills and rents are not paid on time, or in some cases refused altogether, the impacts on sole parents, mainly women again, mean that these breaches and the black marks and eviction notices leave a lifetime of damage in their wake. It's hard enough as a sole parent, especially for a woman, to build a good credit rating. Once destroyed, it takes years to get it back, if they ever do. Policy is dehumanising and political ideology. The greatest insult is the dehumanisation of Australia's most vulnerable people for political ideology. This new bill seeks to remove the legal rights and protections of up to 40,000 Australians, or as you call them, a cohort, which I find insulting given the effort politicians put into dehumanising those impacted. These are real people, not cohorts, not cash cows for vested interests to milk for profits. The one thing that stood out all along is the fact that not once has a cardholder stood in the Senate and been able to speak. Not once has a cardholder been properly consulted as to what their legal rights were and what they were having removed when they or an Indu staff member activated their cards for them. We can change the look of the card all you like, but it's still a sign of stigma that this government has created, that anyone on any form of social security must have an addiction, be a drinker, unable to manage their affairs or their finances. The government have painted everybody on payments as failures. And this has been supported by complicit media who branded a whole section of the local population, their kids and their families. They've all been tarred with the same brush, no matter if they've got jobs or not. The government has already set up the stigma, painting the picture of those who receive their illegal eligible payments as bludgers or are too lazy to get a job, dismissing those on disability who can't work. Being forced onto the card does not stop you from buying alcohol, obtaining illicit drugs, or gambling. It only teaches people how to seek out workarounds, while leaving those with such issues worse off at the hands of unscrupulous businesses that make a few bucks on the side, or the mercy of people who will trade goods for lesser amount of cash in return. There are plenty of vultures out there willing to take advantage of another and effectively steal someone's social security funds to make a few bucks for themselves. If the government were really serious about helping communities overcome social harms, they would properly fund mental health services, addiction support services, and not blanket everyone with the same. If the government were genuine, they would not be handing control of people's lives to a financial payments institution with shareholders expecting a profit. And they certainly would not be blocking or removing their legal protections under law. No, if the government was serious, they'd be investing in proven support services. How dare you call this a financial literacy tool? Indu control the funds of the recipient who has to beg to pay their rents, their bills and access any extra cash. Lots of missing money. It seems Indu will find any excuse to blame the cardholder for their own failure to secure accounts. Multiple accounts of money missing from Indu accounts, all right? Up to $200 a time. and scammers and hackers from all over the world have hacked in, right? And in the latest case up here in Hinkler, we had a sole parent who had $942 stolen from her account, right? Indu told her, the person that stole the money from her account, but they're blocking the police action by refusing to give her the account details to pass on to the police. She's lost that money. That's a whole fortnight's worth of money for, you know, one parent, two small kids. She's not the only one. There's been hundreds, right? If people out of the region, for instance, card holders who are living out of regions face multiple issues of cards not being able to use to shop in their towns. As for servos, many don't accept the card in regional areas, especially in WA. Recently, we were sent a photo of a sign on a servo in a small speck of a town called Corrigan, 279 kilometres from Perth, and the sign was very clear. Sorry, we do not take Indu cards. Sorry for the inconvenience. Too bad if you needed to travel further, I guess you have a travel limit now, you know what I mean? Daycare fees seem to be a real issue. Many have reported not being able to pay or thinking that they have it set up through Indu, only to find that they have huge debts. Indu refusing to release funds and Indu staff telling parents to use their cash portions to pay their daycare debts. The reality is it was never about assisting or helping people. It is right in your face now. It's nothing more than a commodification of people on Social Security, DSP, carers, students, etc. The profits of a private company and their shareholders. As no one actually corrects the damage that has been done. Not even a sorry for we nearly killed you, when you drop from a stress-induced heart attack, as one of my friends did after being deemed unable to manage her affairs and her finances, even though she doesn't drink, smoke, take illicit drugs and can't have children. And after a 5-month appeal and another trip to hospital, she finally got her opt-out. She's now terrified with the new bill and the minister's ability to reinstate her back onto the card with a lifelong heart problem as a result. Conclusion, I could go on for hours about the unpaid bills, late fees, defaults, the destruction the card has caused on people who are least able to cope with being slapped back down into further debts. On the lowest incomes, their families trying to rescue them and going into debt themselves, putting the whole family on strain. Those who have no support seem to fall through the cracks and some have completely vanished. This program is not worth the human cost, yet the government is actually ignoring the human impact over the lust for profits and tech. The look of the card, yet the look of the card is impale in comparison to what real damage is doing within communities and regions within. You can put lipstick on a pig, but it won't change the fact that it's a pig. It's time to vote no and put an end to this cruel, demeaning, undermining and totally destructive program. Nobody's benefited apart from those with vested profit-driven interests. Thank you.